and welcome back to the Inside Edge, Cricket Leinster's video podcast. I'm Andrew.
And I'm Clate, and we really hope you enjoyed the first few episodes of this podcast. And today, we've another bumper episode for you.
And of course, if you have enjoyed those first few episodes, make sure to keep following us on all social media channels at Cricket Leinster to keep up to date with all the coming episodes.
And in this episode, we'll be delving into the topic of fitness, health and well-being.
And we've got two brilliant guests with us, starting off with Brian Garton, current Dundalk captain in the SSE Electricity Premier Division. You've played for Dundalk for many years now as well, with enjoying some top-level success, including under Stephen Kenny, the current Irish manager. But you've also had to get through a few injuries as well, most notably a couple of years ago with your torn ACL. So we'll be looking forward to hearing about your recovery in that, and also looking forward to your new book as well. It's coming out, One Last Shot, where you talk about that Dundalk move and how life-changing that was for you. Brian, it's brilliant to have you with us.
It's great to be here. Thanks for the invite.
We're also joined today by Adrian Harper, who's the owner of Pro Fitness gyms around Dublin. Adrian's family also have a massive affiliation with Balbriggan Cricket Club, and they have been a massive part in the success of that club recently. And we're really excited to talk to Adrian about that venture on the show today. Adrian, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Kate and Andrew. Thanks for the invite to come on.
So to start off, we do it in every episode, talking about kind of first memories into the sport. And Brian, I might start with you, looking to football. At what stage did you pick it up for first memories, and kind of did you always think that was the goal?
Yeah, it was an early age. It was sports. We were chatting off camera there. It was sports, every type of sport from an early age. I was kicking a ball. My mum says before I was sort of walking, I was holding the dog and I kicked the ball and crawl after it. So yeah, whether it was Gaelic, soccer, basketball, hurling, even cricket one year playing in school, Olympic handball, different stuff. It was just a love of everything sport. But yeah, it was really, I suppose, start of school that it really kicked on, you know. I was lucky to go to a sport-loving school, and that sort of just pushed it on even more.
And Adrian, for you, what would have been your first memory of cricket?
Cricket really was a big family thing for myself, where my granddad set the pitch up in Balbriggan with another couple of guys, and through my dad and his brothers, it would have been all we see sports-wise people playing. So for myself, it was really kind of ingrained in you from a young age that you're going to be a cricket player, and you're going to be heavily involved in the cricket club. So it'd be something that was a massive family thing, and something from maybe the age of 3 or 4 that, you know, that there was no getting away from cricket at that age.
And starting off, Brian, with your League of Ireland career and playing for clubs like Bray, coming through the system, what's your aspirations? I suppose everyone grows up wanting to be a Premier League footballer and stuff like that. I'm sure that was the same.
Yeah, it's no different. You're watching Match of the Day as a kid, and you're thinking you're going to be playing for Liverpool or Man United or one of them. And that's always the dream. It's the dream even when you go into your 20s. Let's be honest, like that's what even young lads with me playing now. I went to Bray when I was 17, 18, and like the aspirations then were, it was an under 21 team. I was sort of had to go on the bench, and you do your time, you go around the country and you're not in the squad or not playing and that. And the next season I was captain of the under 21s. I was probably 18 or 19, and big aspirations then. I always remember it was right, get into the first team. I was trained with the first team. I was on the bench 1 or 2 days then. Cement a place there. They're mid-table, say in the top league. Into the Irish 21s, get a move away. Like I know I had it all wrote down. I used to have goals and stuff like that. Write them down, and that was exactly what it was. Now obviously it didn't come to plan, but even when you're reaching that high and your aspirations are like that, I think that probably helped in terms of reaching the top here.
And talking about just when you're starting off at that level and you're travelling around and sometimes you're going places and being on the bench, maybe not getting the minutes you want, how do you deal with that as a young guy kind of getting through the system? I suppose, what would your advice be for somebody in a similar situation?
It's completely different now to what it was. Like, don't like saying it, it's nearly 20 years ago. Like, you know, it's 17 years ago since I was 18. So lads don't have that patience now. If you frowned upon it, if you threw your toys out of the pram and you moaned about it, you were gone, or you were effed out of it. And that's just the way it is. You sort of have to learn your trade, and it's like doing an apprenticeship as such. And there's point to it. You're going around and you're getting a taste for being involved in a matchday squad, but then you're not even on the bench. But all this bit stands to you, and you see how all the professionals around you, you know, carry themselves, how they operate on match days, what I suppose a match day entails, the big games, the smaller games, the mentality, I suppose how you approach them. A lot of young players mightn't even realise it, but they're constantly learning. But nowadays, it's a bit different. Young lads don't have the patience, and you know, they're banging on the door saying we'll be playing, or some of them can be moping around. In the end, you've got to have a dedication and a work rate to just better yourself. That's ultimately what I had, and stood to me. I wasn't the most talented of players, but I had a steely determination and a stubbornness to prove people wrong. So
yeah, and on that point, I suppose, Adrian, like determination, patience, hard work, like you've built up your own business. Like obviously, all of those traits come to mind for someone who builds their own business. Like, how did you get to where you are? Like, what gave you an interest in kind of fitness and health?
Well, when I was age 12, I got offered a contract to go and play football in England when I was 16. So I kind of knew from a young age that fitness was going to be a big part of being a footballer, which, like Graham or like Brian, I wanted to be from the beginning, you know. So that was a kind of something where from the age of 12, I said, right, I'm going to dedicate myself to being fit, being the fittest on the team.
Yeah.
And kind of took it on then when I went to Sheffield United. It was part of our academy system where you had to go to school. And I went to do a fitness course. It was one of the only ones that interested me. I didn't think I would ever need it, but it stood me in good stead when I came back to Ireland. And kind of from the age of 21, I kind of got full time into working in a gym and kind of like going down the fitness route of things.
And just based off that, I suppose very few people have that situation of being the young lad going over to play football in England at such a young age. Was it a daunting task or one that you were really looking forward to?
I was really looking forward to it, but I did get homesick, and I think just being so far away, you're excited to go, but when you're away on your own without your parents or your family around you, it is tough, you know, that there's days when you want to really come home, and you're only 16, you know, so it's a kid really, you know. I thought I was an adult, but at times you're not, you know, and you do miss home, and you're looking to maybe come home and you know that you shouldn't, but it's probably something that throws you off your football because you're sad and you're missing home and lonely and stuff, you know. So,
and I think that whole topic is definitely a lot more talked about nowadays. So like even the pressures of performing and playing at a high performance level, you know, sometimes it's like just get the head down, get it done. But for you guys, you had, like Brian, you said you've goals written down. When you were younger and you maybe were travelling loads and you found it tough, were you like, keep looking at the goals, get the head down, don't tell anyone? Or would you have talked about it with your teammates or whoever you confide in?
yeah, no, I wouldn't have talked about it with teammates as such. It's football can be a tough and a ruthless industry, and it's kind of like it's nearly every man for yourself sometimes, isn't it? And especially at that age,
especially in competing position with someone else, you know, that it's often someone competing against you. You don't want to show a weakness to them, you know, and maybe it's the wrong thing to do, you know.
The other thing is as well, a bit of insecurity. You don't want to be saying, someone saying, oh, you're playing for Bray, and then I'm saying, well, I'm going to get in the Ireland under-21s in 2 years' time, and I'm going to get a move across the water, and they're going to look at you go, yeah, right, you know what I mean?
You're afraid to say your goals out loud.
they'll have a different opinion of you, sort of thing. But I suppose that's, you know, you have to be confident in yourself and have those goals. You don't have to broadcast them to the world. You just have to, I suppose, have a plan, have a structure, and have a bit of an idea how you're going to get there. But and I think the two of us were similar in that aspect, that like you said, you get as fit as you could, you know, and I was the same. I was just like, I was never overly quick, and I'd get drills off a coach, you know, speed drills sort of thing, and I'd be down on my own practicing in the field around the corner, you know, in terms of technique drills and different stuff, and just doing everything I can to sort of give yourself a better chance, starting off in the gym at a young age, whether it be 17, 18, and really it wasn't having too much effect on me because I hadn't grown enough to take you know, to build the muscle and that sort of thing. I was still, like you say, a kid at that age. But
and just so even on that, like having a clear mind going onto a pitch to help you perform. So you're saying you would have done all the gym stuff, done all the running stuff, but the mind stuff maybe, would that have been around when you were growing up, about kind of how you mentally prepare for a game?
No, there wouldn't be as much, but I think sometimes that's good because you're just yourself. You're going out to play.
Yeah.
You can only control yourself. So for some people, it's brilliant in terms of having help like that.
Yeah.
For me, when we played like back then, it was a different game, and
Yeah.
it's all about football and giving players confidence. Now, back then when I was a defender, I was just told, get rid of the ball. Don't think about playing. Don't play. And I won't try to use the language here because like you must be censored and have to.
Dressing rooms are totally different. Nowadays, you know that.
And you were afraid. I was afraid to play. I was afraid to express myself through the game. Just do your job, do your job, do your job. And it wasn't until like 10 years later, nearly, I was given the confidence to, I suppose, to have the mindset and the freedom to play. Like, so yeah, I think there's a balance to it, isn't
Yeah,
it?
definitely.
Yeah. And so then obviously, like, from a fitness point of view, you would have known what you'd focus on for soccer. But for you, Adrian, like, you work with cricketers a lot.
Yeah.
Are there like specific things that cricketers should be doing, whether you're a bowler, a batsman, you pride yourself in your fielding?
Yeah, I think like a lot of cricketers, it's something that they neglect, and especially amateur players, like you get people that will come to you 2 or 3 weeks before the season and say they want to get fit for the season, and it's basically 5 or 6 months too late. That I do think it's something that you should work on straight away from the end of the off season.
Yeah.
If you do really want to like push yourself to the next level, whatever level you're playing at, we all have our levels and we all want to strive to be better. And I think if you started at the end of the season as opposed to doing it before the season or in season, you're going to put yourself at a better advantage for the following year. It might not be what you want to hear coming into a season now, but I think working on like things like flexibility, holding your own body weight, then looking at maybe getting into a gym program. Maybe like some of the stuff that's out there online is more specific to professional players.
Yeah.
And I think that's where people may be getting lost because they're trying to train like somebody who's playing full-time professional cricket, and they're working 9 to 5 jobs and sitting down a lot. It's the posture and whatever, and they're things that people will be better working on than jumping straight into a program that's more suited to a professional athlete.
And what would you therefore kind of suggest to, as you say, everyone has their level from Division 1 to Division 16 in cricket. Like, what are kind of some even simple things that people could do, not even in a gym, that could help?
There's loads, Andrew. With at-home programs now, people have become used to doing things in their own house, and maybe people have some like things in their garden sheds or whatever where they could make use of. But just body weight exercises, things like squats, press ups, dips off the chair, following some sort of a routine where you are working on getting a bit stronger with your body weight, then you could maybe progress on to going into a gym. But I do think for cricketers especially, flexibility will be a big thing, that people are going straight out to a match without stretching. They've been sitting down all week and work, going to training then in the evening times. It is when you pull muscles that people just kind of haven't put their bodies ready for what they're going to ask the body to do. Like bowling is pretty tough on your body, running in, bowling hard in a match. 10 overs, it's 60 balls. You're putting your body through a lot. So I think being flexible and stretching before games is even a big thing for people outside of their strength exercises.
And what would you say, just I know there's sometimes a little bit of a stigma for people that haven't been to a gym maybe, and kind of they're almost a little bit concerned going in and maybe making a fool of themselves.
Yeah.
Well, what would you say, obviously, as you own plenty of these gyms, to those types of people and how to alleviate those fears?
That's what we would have. That would be one of the most common things I would ask people about. Why did you leave? They were in a public gym, for example. Why did you leave the gym you were in? And they're like, I just felt like I wasn't getting any help. I didn't know what I was doing. So the program that we do is kind of people train in small groups, and it's kind of they will come in and we will be there to push them through it without a one-to-one session where you're standing over the same person all the time, but that there's some sort of structure to the session and people kind of know what they're doing. Like a lot of times people go into a gym and you won't get the help you think you're going to get. And that's when following a proper program or having a trainer there, even if it's for a few sessions, if you're in a public gym, maybe getting 4 or 5 sessions off a trainer, that will give you that bit of confidence to go off on your own, because it is daunting. You're going into a gym and all the lads are in front of the dumbbells or in front of the machines that you should be using, and you're probably afraid to go near them, because you don't know how to use them. and you don't have any sort of program in terms of reps and sets. So I think a bit of professional help would definitely help people. And it doesn't need to cost an arm and a leg. I know cost is a big thing for people, but if you set a budget aside for a few weeks of getting trained by somebody else, you will have that confidence then to go off on your own after a few weeks when you know what you're doing, you know the exercises.
Yeah, and then I suppose, just going back to Dundalk and fitness, like Dundalk are probably known as one of the fittest teams in the league. Is that player-led, or is that like from the coach, that will be our goal?
Well, we were, I think.
Okay.
Some people might not be happy with me saying that, but it is what it is.
Okay.
The Stephen Kenny era, as everyone talks about, you know, we were far ahead of everyone else in terms of that, and that was, we had a fitness coach that designed programs for us and structure, so it was organised and structured. You had Stephen that was as demanding as hell, and then you had a dressing room where, yeah, it was about football and also about egos and looking well. Like, so if you've lads walking around the dressing room and they're ripped or they're jacked, and you're looking there and you're looking down, you're like, I better drop a few pounds, you know, or I better, you know, it's nearly a competition between yourselves. And it's not a bad thing because it drives each other on.
Definitely.
Yeah.
We were part-time then, so we were training in the evenings. So I'd go, and I was doing a bit of PT at the time, and I might train a couple of lads in the morning, then do my own gym session, a couple of hours coaching, and then go to training. So we were doing our own gym sessions whenever you'd fit it in, and me and a couple of other lads were in a gym over the south side, and we'd do it together at times. But because we'd that structure and then the competition between each other, and then a lot of lads in Dundalk would go to the gym together because they were living in houses together, you sort of had then people that would go with you as well. So I think there was just a great environment, a real demand, and an environment for you to progress and thrive. And that was the biggest thing. The environment and structure was there.
And like that, you were saying, going to the gym with someone, that's a bit of accountability. Like, you can't just slack off and be like, oh, won't do that extra rep. So like, you had people on your back.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that there as well. And like I said, a little bit of competition in is like, he's pushing, 10 kilos more than I did on my own last week. Is right, I'll try that, and I push myself through it. And just little bits like that. And like I said, we had gym programs designed for us, and there was real structure there. So you followed that, and that's a massive thing you talk for people there, is that people sign up to a public gym, and you can get shown to do stuff, but it's structure and a plan to follow, and then patience, because you just talked about the pre-season programs and people coming beforehand. It's so hard as a professional athlete, I find, to improve on stuff as quick as I want to during the season, because everything is geared towards match day.
Yeah.
So I have to feel right on a Friday, say. So I can't do the bulk load that most people would say, well, if you want to jump higher or if you want to get more explosive, I can't be doing any of that within, say, a certain time frame of games, because you want your legs to be fresh and stuff like that. So you have to be realistic with your goals as well.
Yeah.
So like I said, we were big, fit, strong, but I think the work rate over the last few years, I'm not counting this year because we have a fresh batch of players and new environment in the club, and I think it's getting back to that ethic. But I think that dropped off, and other clubs caught up on us.
And then just you're saying how important the environment is for you, having been there for a long time and seeing the change. Did you kind of take it upon yourself to go, this isn't good enough, or like, who called it out? Do you know?
Yeah, listen, it would be called out, but I remember thinking, like you said, player-led there. It's not that players, you don't need to be barking orders. Actions speak louder, as the saying goes. So if everyone around you is doing that, a majority of our squad, there'd be 2, 3, 4 players every year that wouldn't have that work ethic. Yeah. And they'd be gone at the end of the year.
Yeah.
So if you don't do it, you won't last. But that number grew and grew, and I think more than, say, half didn't have the work ethic, and that's when you lose it. And if there's no authority from the top to bring it back, and accountability, and people to, like, you can have player led, but you need a fear from above. You need repercussions, and you need someone doing that. And listen, you wouldn't cross Stephen, beforehand, sort of thing. So all the little bits create that environment, sort of thing.
And we're going to hear a bit more from the two lads in a couple of minutes, but for now, we're just going to have a look through all the latest news in Cricket Leinster.
The 2022 cricket season is now well underway with the Sports Hub Senior League returning, and we've already seen some key clashes across the province with over 50 fixtures played across 13 leagues, all of which you can catch up with on the cricketleinster.ie match centre and news articles. The newly rebranded Sports Hub Second 11 Premier League, formerly known as Division 3, has also kicked off, won last year of course by Clontarf Second 11. There'll be some stiff competition with many strong teams coming back this season. Great news from a diversity and inclusion perspective, as Cricket Leinster have renewed and expanded their charity partnership agreement with the Lords Taverners Ireland for a further 3 years to the end of 2024. Throughout Leinster, the Lords Taverners Ireland and Cricket Leinster partnership provides so many young people with the opportunity to have a sporting chance which might otherwise not be available to them. It certainly is great to have this programme which supports the provision of experienced coaches and equipment, which is hugely appreciated by the children, their families, teachers and the community at large. And you can hear more about this in the last episode of the Inside Edge podcast, where we sat down with Naomi Scott Hayward, Cricket Leinster South Leinster Development Manager. There's been great interest so far for the national junior programmes Smash It and It's Wicket, with Jenny Sparrow and Emma Butler supporting Isabel Joyce, who's leading the programme for Cricket Leinster. Thanks to everyone who attended the Leinster Club's briefing session, and if you haven't already, you can get in touch with Isabel if you'd like to support with getting involved. That's all for our news section for this episode. Let's get back to the show.
And that's all the latest news from Cricket Leinster at the moment. Back to the two guys. And Brian, I suppose we were discussing a little bit off air about the changes in the League of Ireland, especially in the last 10 years or so, probably provoked by Stephen Kenny and the team you were involved in at Dundalk. We see now Shamrock Rovers as well pushing that barrier on. It must be a very exciting league to be playing in at the moment.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot of football. Like I said, when I was young, you were told to literally just clear the ball and you weren't given confidence to play at the back. It's completely different now. The St. Pat's team, the year before we won the league, I think it was 2013, they won it. It was a great footballing team, and Sligo before that. And then ourselves, in terms of attacking football and on the deck. And then a lot of teams have, I suppose, been given time by the clubs or managers to add that to the game and try play that way. Add that to it, and it's a very young league now. I think it's gone from the average age from 28 to 25 in the last 3 years. It doesn't help me. I'm going the other way. I've gone from 32 to 35, but it's exciting, and it gives a lot of young players a chance, to get senior football, to develop, and they're given confidence to play, which is great to see. And that's why we see a lot of lads going across the water in between the seasons there just gone. So,
and it would be remiss for me not to ask about obviously the European adventures you've been on with Dundalk, getting into 2 group stages, kind of unheard of really for a League of Ireland team, and doing so well in them as well. What was those experiences like, those big away nights even?
Yeah, the 2 different campaigns were chalk and cheese. The first one, obviously, the euphoria of it, and the football we were playing, and we were going and attacking teams and thinking we could beat any team that was there, and the atmosphere. I think, Kate, you said you were there at a few games yourself. It was brilliant. But then the next campaign, there was no crowd, so it takes from it. I'll be honest, like, you create these moments. So, like I said, as a child, or whether I'm in my 20s and I'm trying to play in the Premier League or at the highest it is, it's for that event, it's for that occasion. And when friends, family, and all your supporters aren't there, and the crowd, the atmosphere, it takes from it. But still, listen, it's great memories. But I think about it when I retire.
And then obviously, as you're getting a little bit older now, how do you find you have to manage your body, in games and stuff like that?
Yeah, it's I done my ACL last year, so I'm just back from that, and it's I still think I'm a young lad and can train as much as I want. And then I've done 3 hard sessions in the last 4 days. I'm like, right, I need to take a handy, and it's full recovery tomorrow. It's sleep, hydrate, food, into cold baths, of recovery boots, different things. Anything I can do to sort of get me the extra bit of recovery. And then the hardest bit is mentally. Staying in shape. As you get older, obviously, everyone knows it's harder to stay as lean as you were in your mid-20s and that.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
Yeah, contrasting that then, you know, obviously it's Brian's career, so he can focus on all these things. But for you, Adrian, you have people coming into the gym who, like, it's the last thing on their list. They have home, family, work, you know, other commitments.
Yeah.
How important is it that they actually start to prioritise, you know, the gym?
That's what me and Max, who runs the gym with me, we have a kind of a thing we try and go by, is that we want to be the third place that people have in their day, that they have their work, their family, and then the gym, that we can make it such a good place for them that that's where they want to go. But we do find for people that it is hard, you know, you maybe have people who are parents of young kids and they're up during the night, so if they're training in the morning, it's very hard if you're up during the night feeding the baby or whatever, then to come into your first gym session in the morning. Yeah. Then people who are working all day, it's hard to come to the gym after that. So that's why for us it's important that we do put a good program in place, that we make the gym session as good as can be for them and make them really want to go there, you know, not where they're dreading going to the gym. And I think that sometimes if you're going to the gym on your own, that can be the case, that you've nobody to push you. So even having a training partner, if you're going to a public gym, can be a big thing to the bit of accountability we were talking about earlier, that it does give you something to kind of aim for, you know, going to the gym and with someone else will be a big help rather than going off on your own.
And then also like building a routine, like how long do you see it before people start to actually make it a routine and it becomes a lot easier for them to keep it up then?
I would say to people, look, give yourself at least 12 weeks at something. It might not be what people want to hear at the start, because they might want to hear 2 or 3 weeks and you'll see brilliant results. You will see small results as you go, but I would say to make something a routine, give it 10 to 12 weeks and really say you're going to prioritise that area of your life for the next 10 or 12 weeks. And then it gradually becomes a habit, you know, that you've done these things 3 or 4 times a week for the last 10 weeks and you don't want to miss it then.
Yeah.
You know,
and then like obviously there are the physical benefits of going to the gym, but there's obviously a load of other benefits like that people get. So like...
Yeah, definitely the mental health thing that we would see, especially people who are working from home. A lot of young people especially, that they're working 5 or 6, maybe 10 hours in their office chair all day. They don't see anybody outside of their 4 walls. And coming to the gym, they might meet new people and kind of do their session. They will feel good, the endorphins after they train, but talking to other people and kind of seeing other people is a big help to them as well.
And just on that issue of mentality, Brian, obviously you mentioned the ACL injury. How difficult is it, I suppose, to pick yourself up and go through all that rehab work to get back on the pitch when you know you've got a long way ahead of you?
Yeah, it's... At the start, I was, right, that's it, it's done. I've done my ACL, and I had the programme downloaded before I even went in for the surgery, and I was doing a load of work to build up the muscle before it. In my head, something like that happens, I always try to say, listen, it could be worse. You know what I mean? It's nothing life-changing, it's an injury, it's part and parcel of the thing. I sort of had the mindset that I've gone 17 years and never had a bad injury. A couple of weeks out or something like that was the worst. So, but then, you know, that flips on its head every few weeks and you're going well, especially you get through the first few months and then you're starting to make strides back and then all of a sudden you have a setback and you're just sort of, your head's in the bin for a week, like, and you don't do stuff or you're eating crap. And I'm sure you're relatable with this in terms of it's all mental, whether you're in the gym and trying to lose weight or here, is that it's everything you do outside as well. In terms of, I found that great shape for ages, and then my head went. I had a health scare as a reaction from the surgery and stuff like that, and just the stress, and then obviously I had new children and lack of sleep and different stuff like that, and my decisions were all wrong, and that wasn't going to help my recovery from the thing, you know. And I went through it, and then I sort of hit a reset button. And like, all's not lost, and like you said, you got to be realistic in your goals, and it's not going to be overnight, sort of thing. So
definitely.
It's no different, I think, to anyone. Say if you're trying to lose weight in the gym or get fitter and that sort of thing, it's being realistic, and it's the long journey, like you just said there. It's a long journey, not just weeks.
Setting some goals for yourself as well. We say to people, look, set some short and medium term goals at least, and some people do have longer term goals. But if you're kind of just going to the gym for the sake of going, you're probably going through the motions. So people have all sorts of goals, you know, whether it's mental or physical, that you do set some goals for yourself and set a bit of a time frame on them, and you're more likely to hit them.
Yeah, well, I think that's a very good point you make, obviously, but how hard is it with that reset button that you're talking about, you know, and you've gone through a couple of bad weeks? For anyone, you know, playing any sport and they've picked up a bad injury, or they really want to get back out there and they get that setback, what would you say to them to help get to that reset button?
Yeah, it's just identifying. It's being honest with yourself. It's pretty much identifying, right, this has happened. I can't do anything about it. I can't change that. I can only change what's there in front of me. And it might take you a week, or, you know, before you realise that, or 2 weeks or even longer. So it's being, very self-aware. You've got to be honest with yourself, your strengths, your weaknesses, and just working hard then. It's, as we came back to through the podcast, it's dedication, commitment, and just hard work. And that you're going to fall off the wagon at times. But it's getting yourself back on is what gets you back there.
Thanks so much, guys.
Yeah, it's been absolutely brilliant to have both Brian and Adrian on for this third episode of the Inside Edge Cricket Leinster's video podcast. And we really hope you guys did enjoy it. It was a fascinating chat with the two guys. And make sure to follow us on all of our social medias at Cricket Leinster. But until next time, from myself and Kate, it's goodbye for now.